Sugar is high, but focus is low. This is the story of my life. I used to be someone who is very, very hard on breakfast. I mean, I've been brainwashed to believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's what they told us. They brainwashed our parents and they passed on that brainwashing to us, making us believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's just a scam. But it's not for me to argue. I'm not here to argue with you whether breakfast is a scam or not. I used to be hard on breakfast. I always want to have breakfast before going to work. I will usually have breakfast cereals. All these cereals made of corn, made of grains, and all of that starch. I would have breakfast cereals first thing in the morning, all in the name of having breakfast before going about my day. Because they've advertised, they said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And they said these cereals is packed with energy for me to start my day. But then when I get to work, when I want to focus on my task, I get brain fog. I can't focus, I can't concentrate. I become lethargic. I don't have mental clarity. But then why did they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Why then did they say these breakfast cereals will give me energy to focus? When I get to work, I can't even focus on my work without being lethargic. I have to force myself to focus on what I'm doing. I have to bring my brain back to what I'm doing. I get distracted. I daydream. I think about so many things. I have brain fog. I don't have mental clarity. But then they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Then one day, by mistake, I was unable to have my breakfast in the day. I went to work on an empty stomach. And then I was able to focus 100% on what I was doing. It sounds like a miracle. It was like a magic because they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I will have focus. I will have energy to carry about my day. But then every time I have breakfast, most especially breakfast cereals packed with loads of sugars and preservatives, I'm unable to focus at work. I become lethargic. I have brain fog. And then on the day that I, out of accident, mistakenly did not have breakfast, I could focus better. I had mental clarity. My brain fog is gone. Laser focus on the work I'm doing, and then I become more productive. I get more work done within 2 to 3 hours than I could a whole day when I had breakfast. And then I had to make a research on this. I started reading books. I read about diets and how it affected productivity. And I was meant to realize that the higher sugar you have in your bloodstream, the more lethargic you'll be, the more confused you'll be, the more distracted you'll be. So the higher the sugar in your bloodstream, the higher the sugar in your brain, the less focused you become. Interesting. And I did more research to realize that all these breakfast cereals that we eat, made of sugar, made of corn, made of starch, made of grain, is the cause of our brain fog while at work. Is the cause of our 11 a.m. feeling of tiredness. Is the cause of our 11 a.m. sleepy feeling. You've been there at work, most importantly, or even at school. Once it's around 10 to 11 a.m., you usually feel sleepy. You feel grudgy. It's because of the breakfast you've had. Most importantly, you had breakfast cereals. You had a high sugar breakfast. And the way this sugar acts in our bloodstream, the fact that it's of high sugar, most especially processed breakfast cereals, of high sugar, then your insulin spikes. And once your insulin spikes, it means that you would need more energy during the day when your blood sugar crashes. Because, of course, when your insulin spikes, it wants to process that sugar that is in your blood vessels. It's trying to process that sugar that is in your bloodstream. So it works harder and harder to push out that sugar from your blood vessels, to store it for you until where you need more energy. All right? So you have the energy spike once your insulin spikes, of course. you have high amount of energy. But then the way it spikes is how it crashes. And then when you have that energy crash, that's when you start feeling groggy and feeling sleepy. Then your body tells you that, oh, your blood sugar has crashed. Now we need more sugar to sustain, to get more energy. Interesting. Now that is why you now have more sugar cravings than before. You said breakfast will make you feel. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast will give you more energy. But then why is it that when it's 11 or 12 p.m., you start feeling sleepy? And then you need more sugar. You need more junk. That's the cause of your sugar cravings. But from the productive point of view, having breakfast, most especially breakfast cereals or cereals that contain loads of sugar and processing, that is the reason for you not having mental clarity. That is the reason for your brain fog. That is why you can't focus on your work. That is why you feel tired once it's 11 a.m. Try it tomorrow. Stay on empty stomach for that focused thing that you need to do. Go with empty stomach. Do not eat anything. Of course, you feel hungry, but just know that it's just your hunger hormones coming into action at specific times of the day. Once you stay away from eating during that time that you feel hungry, you realize that you feel less hungry because the hunger hormones has gone down. Work on empty stomach. Stay focused. When you have to do things that has to do with your cognitive function, don't eat. Just stay on an empty stomach. And you see how much work you get done in a short period of time without having to be distracted or having brain fog. Try it tomorrow and come back and tell me how you feel. And I'll see you in the next one.